Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter what time of day it is where you're at. Welcome to another episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network, sponsored each week by the CVC Success Group. And our goal, our mission in doing this is to provide to you some new processes, some practices, and that's going to be what we're going to talk about today. So hang around. We'll be right back and we'll get started with this episode today. Appreciate you being here. It's an honor, it's a privilege, and it's a pleasure. So if you're a watcher of our show every week, we just changed the intro just a little bit there this week, got rid of the countdown timer, and we went live right off the bat. So again, I want to welcome you for being here today. And our topic today is, how can data collection be a big factor in raising your sales, raising your profits, tracking and measuring waste, reduction of waste? There's all kinds of topics can fall under this. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share some processes that I'm seeing that I'm going to tell you, are just nothing short of phenomenal with a new system that I've been able to look at and I've got clients on that shows tremendous promise because it opens up our eyes to a lot of new things. So Josh, what's your thoughts about using data in order to better manage and run your business?
Well, I've always been a big fan of data because it removes any sort of emotion you may have towards people. So if you set up sales goals or close rates and things like that, that gives you something to go back against. And then, oh, I think he's doing a good job.
Yep, dead on the money of what we can do here with this. Cheryl, what's your thoughts on data collection?
Well, it can improve your bottom line because you can see where you're going, you can see where you've been. It can also employee retention as you deal with employees. It helps you understand and know exactly where they came from and got to. So data to me is one of the most important things you can pull into a company.
There you go. So first one I'm going to tell to you about is one that we actually rolled out several months ago and interviewed the founder of a company by the name of Rilla. And the product that they sell is called Rilla Voice. Well, we rolled that out a couple months ago after I saw it at Tommy Mello's Freedom event in the fall. And since that time, companies are now starting to engage this. And my clients, I have several who have engaged this at this point, and it is nothing short of a remarkable system. Now, I'm going to put a link in the comments right here, and you can go back and view that previous episode of this if you would like, that will tell you a whole lot about it. I'm going to put it up on the screen there right now, but that's in the comments. If you want to see our interview with Sebastian, who's the founder, you can go to that link in the comments and you can get the interview with Sebastian when we talked about him. But the problem was, at the time, really didn't understand it to the depth that I do today. So what does Rilla Voice do? Rilla Voice is an app. And what it has to tie in, and it has to work with your CRM. And it works with most CRMs. The only one that it really doesn't work with in the chimney industry or home service is Smart Service. But it does work with a lot of the popular ones, Service Titan. It works with House Call Pro and others. So here's how it works. Before the technician knocks on the door, he turns the app on. The app is now recording the entire conversation between the customer and the technician. It records it all the way to the end of the time that they leave the house and they turn the app off. So what this is doing is it is giving you a verbal recording of all the conversation that occurred in that house. Now, once it has been uploaded, it then gives you a written transcript of the entire conversation. Then it does with artificial intelligence, it goes in and it analyzes the process and what was going on. And what this does, it tells us how many words a minute the technician is talking. It also measures the percentage of time that the technician talked versus the customer talking. It also measures the longest monologue. In other words, if the technician talked for 3 minutes and 32 seconds non-stop, it measures that. And here's what we're seeing. The highest sales producers are occupying the conversation between 40 and 50% of the time. The ones with less productive results are over talking the customer. We see them talk 75, 85, over 90% of the time. It also has tracking built into it with your trackers. So you can actually see how they're discussing pricing, benefits, the company story, the financing, all the different things that are in there. You can also do a search, and if you want to know how they described a certain problem, such as in chimney world, let's see how they described firebox deterioration. We can enter that in as a search term, and it will go straight to that conversation, and you can both read it and you can listen to it. So what you're doing with this is you're able to be in that customer's home. It is like having a sales coach on every single job. And from that point, using this data with the technician looking at his own scorecards and the management looking at this, we can coach this technician to operating at a much higher level. So again, that is real voice. And to be honest with you, I think it is probably the best tool that I have ever seen to train a technician, a salesperson in homes. Not only that, you can use it with your CSRs. And right now, I'm envisioning this being used on showroom floors, where if you're running a showroom and the customer comes in, we're recording it in the same way and we're tracking it and seeing benefits. So, Josh, as a background in both running a retail and a service business, what's your thought as I described how this system is working?
So separate, how you can coach bad salespeople, because you're always going to have low performers. So that's a big one. B, you've always got salespeople that overpromise that, say we're going to do X, Y, and Z, even though your contract says there's no way in hell we're doing X, Y, and Z. Those are just a few thoughts that I have right off the top of my head. I would much rather read it because I can process it a lot faster than I can now, that I can listen to it, because time is often of the essence and I can only listen to so many presentations in a day. The other question is, does it tell you when you said talk over the customer, does it say like, hey, we cut the customer off like from talking? Was that one of the things?
You could do that, and it might say this system is still developing, but what it's doing, it's not just comparing you within your company, it's comparing you with all technicians from your industry. So what you're doing is, as more companies get into this, you have a much higher pool of information that this artificial intelligence can run through and see what's happening. So anyway, but it's just like I said, it's just something new that I think has tremendous potential out there. And I see other things, Josh. I see this as, excuse me, another form of documentation. How often do we get into the situation like you just described of the he said, she said? And where we can go back, it's like I was listening to a conversation the other day, and the technician told them at the end, it's going to be $275 for today's visit. And the customer said, oh, no, they said this was going to be a free visit. So number one, we can now hear how your technician addresses that objection. And then this particular client has Service Titan, so they were actually able to pull up the recording of the conversation between the CSR and the customer when they booked the call. So, and I'm just envisioning all kinds of things here from my background of working in fire cause and effect, of having a documented system here a documented system of where we have this recording of our warnings to the customer. I mean, I see so many advantages to this. It is slap unreal. Cheryl, what's your thoughts as I've talked about this?
I mean, I think it's going to be a game changer, and it's ever growing. AI is like it's growing every day. Actually, AI is beginning to come into the hiring process now at this point too. I'm going to just insert this now since we're here with this. But Applicant Pro, the program that I use a lot, is now worming resumes to make sure that the people fit the critique that you're doing so you don't get so many resumes. But that breaks into the knowledge thing and it breaks into the data. The more data that they can get, whether it be Rilla, Applicant Pro, or whatever, it's going to make our lives easier. It's going to make it more precise. And I think that, especially Rilla, with as much as they do, you've got a way to track basically everything your technician does, it looks like.
Yeah, Alan and Rush and I were having a conversation yesterday, and it was about Rilla. And Alan and myself, we both do ride along trainings. In other words, I get in a truck sometimes and I go out and I'm working with the technician. I'm out on job sites and I'm listening to the technician. Now, the thing is, I can tell you that I think you're talking a little too fast here, okay? Or you're interrupting the customer. But I can't tell you, hey, you're speaking at 192 words a minute in your presentation, and you got to slow down to approximately 120 words a minute. I mean, Cheryl, you've known me a long time, and this is one of the things that I had to learn in doing presentations, which was stop being a fire hose and shooting it out and just flooding people like water out of a fire hose, and learn to stop, learn to take pauses so the information has time to settle into that customer's mind. It also tells us, is that technician listening to understand, or are they listening to just construct a reply? This software will tell us all these things.
Wow.
So, Josh, what's your thoughts after hearing my dissertation on Rilla Voice?
No, I'm impressed. Like when I listen to phone calls, and I've listened to a few lately, where the company person is over talking customers, and man, does that just and I was doing it with a client, and I would have liked to had hit print screen when she was listening to it, because you ever seen those memes where the rooster cocks their head in, comes leaning in real close because she's like, they said what? They cut him off. Those things, like if you were over talking me as a customer, we're just not going to get anywhere, because my blood pressure is just going to go up and up and up.
You're exactly right. That's your behavior pattern, Josh. And that's what people don't understand. I mean, I'm going to go to Cheryl in a minute, and she can tell how important this is, being able to gauge the customer's behavior pattern and tailoring the presentation to them. But Chuck Roydhouse just posted up, this can also increase profits by allowing you to identify typical service visit time to correctly show your true hourly billable rate to allow for customer client interface time job costing. So dead on the money, Chuck. It has all kinds of capabilities of things that you can use this software for to really take you to the next level. So you've got it there. So Josh, what you got?
So to comment on the disc testing, I listened to the master class from the inventor of Spanx female undergarments, and she talks about not necessarily disc tests, but before she created Spanx and she was selling, I want to say fax machines or something like that, and how she learned to do sales. She learned to sell to each personality type and develop that presentation very quickly. Because if you're with me, if you're like, I'm the person that said, just give me the facts, quick and fast. Beyond that, I don't want to hear anything else. Anything else beyond that, you're going to upset me.
Yeah, and you're dead on the money. I mean, and that's what I tell people, and Cheryl will go in this in just a minute, but I want it in bullet points. I don't want this hour and a half drawn out conversation. That's too painful. I'm not going to do business with you because your presentation was a painful presentation. And this is what technicians need to learn. So Cheryl, going to that thought process, what do you see from your studies and all the DISC assessments you're doing and all of the interviews you do about this and how you have to tailor that conversation to the person? I know sometimes I walk past your office and you're doing a conversation and somebody's on the other side and they're just running off at the mouth ridiculous, like, that's who's that for? It's like, that ain't going to work for that guy. That will drive him crazy. So tell us more about how this can help people if they can gauge their conversation to meet the behavior pattern of the person they're talking to.
Well, I do training in this a lot of times because it's very important. All people are basically alike, but their behaviors are so different, the way they hear things. And a lot of people assume that your conversation is based on how you say it, but it's not. It's based on how the other person hears it. And so I'm like you and Josh, I'm a high D. I want the bullet points. I want to know, does it work? And I don't care what color it is. I don't care what the buttons do. So you're going to sell to me really fast. But as you move on through the DISC and get down to the C, these people need to know. They speak much softer. They speak much slower. That's how you pick them up and pick out what their personalities are. Also, the speed they talk, that puts them into the I. They like to talk about themselves. So you've got to hear how they speak, and then you know how to return the conversation. I mean, basically, I speak much faster than I do on here because the percentage of people out there that are S and C's is much higher than D's. So the high D's have to slow their speech down and they have to have a lot more fluff in their conversations. So without knowing that, and if you're a high D and you're rambling off, you can watch the lights go out in people. The other way around, people like us, if you drag the conversation out too far, the lights go out. So this is how you need to do it. The good thing with Zoom, I can see body language, but over a phone, most CSRs can't. You have to learn to pick it up literally from the tone and the speed in their voices.
Yep, very true. And again, I just posted a link in there to Rilla. And if you want to know more, you can go in, do a demo with this, so you'll know there is no financial return to us if you do this demo, if you contracted with it, but we don't have a financial interest. I just think that this is a next level tool that can realistically increase your sales 20 to 40%. 24 to 40%. And if you got a top performer that's at this level, and we got some C's down at this level, I think it can bring them up, and so they can be duplicating what the top level guys are doing out there. So I just see it as one heck of a phenomenal thing for people to engage. It's not extremely expensive. Is it going to take some time? Yes. You have to review this. A lot of times people ask me, how long does it take to get set up? Actually, you go through an onboarding process. You go through some training of how to use it. Then you got to get into playing with it. And I've been playing in this thing with a couple different dashboards for a couple weeks now, and it's really coming across as one heck of a tool to really accomplish your goals. I don't think I have ever seen a software that's excited me to this much that can do this. It kind of reminds me when I learned how to use PowerPoint years ago and doing presentations. I have been doing transparencies for years, and I got so tired of picking those transparencies up, keep them in order, flipping them over, having to have an overhead projector, and found out how to use PowerPoint and then how I can make it work for me. So that's about Rilla Voice. Okay, so Josh, let me go over to you. Is there any other tools out there that you see, such as from Service Titan that you work with, that could also be this data collection, system?
Well, you can definitely go through reports and see what's selling, who's selling, how much they're selling, average price, things like that. Because a lot of things we do necessarily in the chimney world are custom, especially with the masonry, things like that. It's kind of hard to nail down, what the price is going to be, based on there's certain factors you just can't um, figure when you're doing some of these quotes in a hard price, but you'd like to be able to see averages, that sort of thing. If you're selling caps, if you're selling crowns, what is their, what are your best selling estimates, that sort of thing.
Got you covered. Cheryl, what about you? Anything there?
Yeah, I mean, Service Titan, we know a lot of people that are using that. Any of the programs will collect data. Also, there's an old-fashioned pad and pencil that'll collect it also. I mean, that's how we do a lot of our data for when I'm building outdoor kitchens, is because it's done on spreadsheets. I still like my spreadsheet because then I've got more functional control for me. But I don't know that it really matters what you use as long as you use it. Don't just let it sit there and stare at you.
Yep, that's right. So one of the things is, it's like with Service Titan is, Josh, the ability to see what the average sale. I mean, this came up with a client, and we looked at their numbers coming off of 2023. The numbers were down. They weren't in good shape. I said, okay, we got to break this down. So I had them start pulling me data out of Service Titan. And one of them was, what were the individual averages of all the people doing sales? And what they found out was the guy that they thought was their best sales guy is actually on the bottom because they weren't looking at the data that was available to them. So now what we're doing is, from this data, we're putting together a system. I've got a training that I'm going to go there and do in a couple weeks to go over this, from pulling this data. Pulling data and understanding data and getting your people to understand this, it is a significant tool to help you move where you're wanting to go to. I sincerely believe that. So like I say, this Rilla Voice thing, it is a winner, okay? This is a winner. And Chuck just posted up here, the Rilla tool is also like when Jerry had us using the pocket pen recorder. There you go, man. If you remember that, a couple years, way back, Josh, and Chuck knows this, we used to tell our clients to get what we called a spy pen. And the spy pen was a little tape recorder you put in your pocket to listen to conversations. So Chuck, I'm glad you remember that. That goes back a few years, but yeah, I had a lot of people buying spy pens and carry them in their pockets in the customers' houses so they could hear themselves speaking. Okay. And I still remember a time that I was doing a ride along with a technician, and we were in the field. And when we got back in the car, I asked the guy, I said, why did you say that? And I told him what he said. He said, I didn't say that. I said, oh, yes, you did. You want to hear it? And played the recording for him right there. It was totally shocking. Okay. So, Cheryl, anything else you want to add in this subject matter?
The main thing I'd like to say is, regardless of which program you have, put it to use, pull all the data together, and then use the data to move forward.
That's it, man. Josh, anything else you got to add in today?
No, I do not.
Okay. So the whole thing is, this is the year of artificial intelligence. It's been a hot topic, guys. And I'm talking about Rilla Voice. I would say that Rilla Voice is going to have some competitors nipping at their heels before long as others get onto this and develop these different tools. I mean, we're seeing artificial intelligence being used as marketing. We're watching Spark Marketers come out with what they call Jenny, which is a AI app that can be added to websites, that can answer your customers' questions, online booking, all these things where you can be more effective, more profitable by using the tools that are available to you. So anyway, that's going to conclude this week's episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. And here's the thing, folks. If you're up against those challenges, you need somebody to talk to. You just don't know how to move into the next level that you're looking for. hey, give us a call. That's what we're here for. That's what we do and work with clients. We've been doing this. I think 14 to 15 years now since I started doing this. So let us know here at CVC Success Group, how can we help you get to the level that you want to be? And guess who's watching us today? I just saw we got a like from Brandy Biswell. So Brandy's hooked up with us. Maybe we can get Brandy back on here one day since she's now. So if you're aware, Brandy is going after her doctorate in nursing right now. Are we missing Brandy? You better believe it, but we wish her the most success in the world. And she just popped up. She's at some airport somewhere. So hopefully she's going somewhere to have a good time. So Brandy, appreciate you tuning in today. And with that, we'll see you next week on the next episode of the CVC Home Service Success Network. And Brandy, if you're missing us, you know how to get back on this broadcast on Friday. So it's your own fault if you're missing us, and we're missing you too, sweetie. So talk to you next week on our next episode, folks. Appreciate you being here today.